Hello and welcome back to the show. Today we're doing the Everton Aston Villa talking points. The game resulted in a 2-0 defeat at the hands of Villa. I can't say I'm angry, I'm just really disappointed with the result because I think that we had our fair share of opportunities. I mean, everyone could see that. It was blatantly obvious for everyone to see. Dominated in the first half. You know, we had command, we had possession, we had plenty of opportunities, some of which, you know, were higher percentage than others. But if we're talking about who had more key opportunities, it was Everton. You know, it was the most Everton game ever because we had some really good quality possession in places where the opposition felt threatened. But ultimately, we don't have the goal scorer that we desperately called for in January. And right now, we're seeing the results, the repercussions of not, you know, doing a deal and being proactive, especially in the back end when we really needed someone. Now, I'm not one to make up excuses, but the match official today was useless. I mean, giving Onana a card 2 minutes into the game, that was a farce in itself. But if we talk about that penalty given, there was absolutely zero doubt he got a foot on the ball, Garnagay. It is just a matter of how much contact there was between him and McGinn and whether that contact was enough to warrant a penalty. I think my bias is going to come into play when I say that I don't think there was enough contact. I'm not going to deny that there was contact, but it's just going to be a matter of how you interpret it. The fact, though, that it wasn't even looked at, you know, no one raised an eyelid, you know, in the VAR review team, like, it's an absolute joke. The consistency is not there. I've seen worse that hasn't been paid, and this one was paid, and it was fairly soft. I mean, overall, he did not let the game run. The referee did not let the game run. There were some really petty decisions. There were some decisions that absolutely weren't on, some that were on and weren't called. But really, when we got a card given to us in the second minute of the game, you knew which way things were going to be favoured towards. And I've seen the Pickford one come up, Pickford and Watkins, that coming together. But look, Pickford saved the ball. He did take out Watkins, but he also saved it. So yet again, it's another decision that sort of, you know, it had a bit of contact involved, but you've also, you know, made contact with the ball. So which way are you willing to be leaning towards? And usually you give the benefit of the doubt to the defender, but I think there's been plenty of instances where, you know, we've actually gone against exactly that. Obviously, we talk about opportunities. The one that comes to mind is the one that was cleared off the goal line. I mean, for God's sake, Mopé, just pummel the ball into a part of the net where there is no player. I mean, this guy cannot score a goal on the pitch on match day. He probably can't score one in training. He probably can't score one if he's being held hostage. You know, he literally has been given so many opportunities. As far as opportunities go, that one today was as easy as you like. You've been handed that opportunity. I mean, Luck wanted that ball to go in because it deflected off a Villa player who's gone down. And you still weren't able to get the job done. You've hit it right at a Villa defender. I think it was Mings. But seriously, what does this guy need to do to not get picked in the 11? And we also talk about the McNeil opportunities. A couple times he got behind the line and had a couple opportunities, but he was trying to favour that left-hand side, which is so blatantly clear for oppositions. They're always going to force you onto the right if they can. And it was just a shame that McNeil was running to the right. And well, he obviously tried to favour that left, and at that point, all the Villa defenders had gotten back. So another piece of, you know, decision-making that yet again is just proven to be our downfall. That said, I think he's our player of the game. I think it's everyone's player of the game. It was pretty unanimous. I've seen a lot of people praising him today. I think he's been generally pretty good under Sean Dyche. You know, today his dribbling was really good. I mean, sometimes there was a fair amount of pressure and he just knew that, you know, when the right time was to pass it off, when the right time was to take it on. He was able to weave through defenders and split two defenders sometimes. He got, obviously, behind the defensive line and had a couple opportunities which he obviously blew. But it's good that he's getting himself into those positions. I mean, if that's the positive you want to take from it, that's the positive spin. But also those crosses, I mean, he had plenty of crosses. Some were good, some were bad, but I think it's the fact that he's willing to take them and he doesn't seem as timid as he was earlier in the season. That is a huge positive. And not to mention, he worked his ass off today. I mean, the work rate was exceptional. Matty Cash, he was under duress basically every time he got the ball because McNeil was working his backside off to get over there and ensure that, there was no easy way out. I think it's just a little bit disappointing, as we mentioned, him only having a left foot. It is crazy that in the professional footballing system, he's been in the system for so long, he still hasn't developed a right foot. Or even the fact that he doesn't even bother. He doesn't give that side of his body the light of day. He had opportunities to, register a shot on target at least and possibly send it behind for a corner, but he didn't even bother. His instinct was to go back onto the left-hand side, and he didn't even end up shooting the ball because he passed it off. That's what the situation demanded. But if he had confidence, to be able to pass and, shoot the ball on both sides, well, then we would have potentially a goal or two on the board from that alone. If we talk about the second goal, I have no idea how Jordan Pickford got beaten on the near post. I thought he had the angle covered. He did not. But I think we also have to mention Connor Cody, who's been a bit, prone to mistakes recently. We talk about the Liverpool goal where he just left it and it was there for a clearance. And this time he gets beaten to the left by Buendia. We had him covered, but then one step to the left and Cody looks exposed and flat-footed. I think changes in that department need to be called upon. Iwobi's delivery into the box, I think, was pretty good at times. He was feeding some runners. And on top of that, his technicality on the ball is pretty good. He always shows pretty good skill in that department. I think the midfield trio was solid, but it seemed like at times they felt the brunt of the pace in which, Villa were moving the ball. And that's why we seem to be exposed a little bit more often than, the previous couple of games at Goodison. And I think every single time that Seamus had to front up against an opponent, one-on-one, he was pretty solid. I don't think he really put a foot wrong. Maybe for the, second goal he conceded where he was nowhere to be found, but overall, I think he had a pretty solid game as well. But if we're thinking about things to consider moving forward in terms of what we have available at our disposal with regards to personnel, first and foremost, be gone with Mopay. Send him off to China to frickin' God knows where. He does not belong in the Premier League. Simply put, I'm not even joking. I would rather have, well, first, Amari Gray is probably the most common option, but you have to put Michael Keane in. For God's sake, I'd give him a crack, because you know why? He's tall. He can't be any worse in front of goal than Mopay is, like any less threatening. He seems to have a little bit of quality on the training ground, so who knows if that translates to the game. I mean, what do you have to lose? Like, at least if we play him, we've got a focal point up top. If you're going to play hoofball, he's tall. He can't be any slower than Mopay either. Like, it's... You have to be seriously impressive to be worse than Mopay in the pace department and in the scoring department. You can't have a goal scorer who has not scored a goal in 17 games. You're not going to score goals up front, no matter how many opportunities you manufacture. That problem has been fixed. But the next problem is finding the guy to top off the work and, put the cherry on top. There is no one that can finish off all the hard work that we've been doing in the midfield to win the ball back. We've had more possession. We've had more opportunities. The crosses are coming in, but there is no one who knows how to position themselves and, get the job done. Simply put, like, if there's a shot on the goal line to be put away, you have to put it away. You cannot be, you get the deal. I hope you enjoyed that short rant because, I mean, simply put, like, everyone knows it. There's no need to sugarcoat it. It is so glaringly obvious, and it's so bad that the board did nothing and, you know, shed a blind eye towards it all. Mina comes in for Connor Cody. I think he's just more physically imposing. He's quicker. He can throw people off their game. You know, he's a bit of a shit stirrer. He can get under people's skin. He can really irritate them, and that can put them off their game, as we just said. And look, I don't think you can change the formation and play 2 up top if you really want to play Mope, because in terms of the midfield and defensive structure, I don't think you can take away from that. I'm not talking about the personnel being irreplaceable. I'm talking about the structure and how Dyche's system is, you know, built off of that. So I think you've got to keep the numbers the same. I think the personnel can be different. And that's probably what I think personally. Just in terms of the way they're distributed and positioned, it seems like that seems to be working. Regardless, there's no time for moral victories. We have to move forward. We have to look towards the future because, you know, all you can do, the results in the books now. We've got Arsenal away coming up. It is going to be one of the toughest games of the season. We got flogged there last time we met them there. But the loser mentality does nothing good. You know, we went to the Etihad and picked up a point against the odds in the worst of form. So potentially there could be something there for the taking, but we can't go into the game with a loser mentality and thinking we're already going to lose the game before we've even set foot in the facility. So that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new. We're going to be doing talking points every week, and make sure to stay tuned on the community tab. That's where I keep you all updated as to when things are being posted. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.